American Horror Story fans, welcome back to another exhilarating, exciting, enticing episode of The Creep on American Horror Story, brought to you courtesy of Monkey Caviar. We are officially at the halfway point, episode 5 of American Horror Story, My Roanoke Nightmare. I am your most infamous host, the Elvis Man, and with me, as always, is the lovely Miss Melody. We have proper lighting now. We can see Melody a lot better. So we are opening up with some really interesting stuff with the Roanoke Nightmare. We start off with a historian telling us about the origin story of the house and how it was built by Edward Philippe Mott, who we recognize that last name from anybody who does watch American Horror Story religiously, that was Dandy's last name, our crazy psycho from American Horror Story Freak Show. So we are touching base on this property, and we finally, at long last, get Evan Peters in the mix. He shows up as this French kind of debutante rich guy. He is Edward Philippe Mott. And he shows up at this auction and basically is an art enthusiast and walks up to this art in the middle of the auction. And as they're like, okay, we're trying to conduct business here, he basically just tells everybody, you can piss off. I'm buying everything, so don't bother.
He has his eye on this, it's called a peel. The artist is Peel. Not sure if it is Rembrandt or Charles Senior, but he has his eye on this painting, and it comes home with him along with his bust that looks like it may be made in the image of Aristotle. And also at this time, the story is also touching on the fact that he has severe anxiety, which we would, call in this day and age, we would diagnose it as severe anxiety disorder. So it's kind of, they're trying to bring modern day into the story by touching on that.
That's true. Definitely. He likes his seclusion.
Yeah.
He basically goes hermit style, but not full on hermit, because he's got these people around him and they're building him this big mansion, this house.
No, he's full on hermit. He hates everybody.
But yeah, hermits are secluded. They don't really associate with anyone at all. But he's here with with this guy who is his right-hand man. He's telling him where to stash his art that he is so fond of. I mean, he loves his artwork.
His name is Guinness. He's lovely.
As there's this accident that happens at the house when they're constructing it, and this guy falls and gets this compound fracture. And as everybody's attention is drawn to this accident, Edward hears the crazy pig noises coming from the woods, and he turns around, but there's nothing there, of course. And we're basically seeing more art delivered to the house. And
that's the peel. He's saying, here's the peel, put it above the mantle. He is obsessed with this piece of art, along with his bust. He's saying, hey, put this above the mantle, but he does it with a sort of friendly jest. And that's where we find out that Guinness and Evan Peters' character, they're actually lovers. Come to find out, Peter's character left his wife and newborn child to go to this home and be by himself and buy paintings and just raise this almost like a farmstead by himself with his money. He's very, very, very rich. So he's there, and he starts to notice very strange goings on happening while they're building it. Of course, the guy, he gets mangled. He falls off the roof. But he pays it no mind because he has no idea about the history of the house thus far. So he and Guinness, they share some time by themselves. It's the first night they have actually been able to stay in the house. And my favorite quote, my favorite quote of the night, I had to actually write this down. Let's rouge our nipples before we get rouge our nipples. Here it is. That was hilarious. One of my favorite quotes from this episode. I had to bring it in. Who says that? Except for a 17th century fop who's bought a lot of paintings.
Exactly.
Huh?
He's totally got the French fop look going big time.
It reminds me of Lestat in Interview with a Vampire. Whenever he is presenting Louis with Miss very suave, higher up, classy lady, and he's trying to get her to kill someone, and he calls him a fop. Or no, he actually calls the guy that she is with a fop.
Yeah.
And I've always loved that.
He was trying to teach Louis the whole gift of reading minds, and then he was basically telling him that she had this young fop kill her husband. He's like, "How do you know?" He's like, read your thoughts." But yeah, but we see this guy in his house, and after his little love session in the bathtub with Guinness, we see him wake up to the sound of a hatchet hitting the wall, which we obviously see, which is the butcher's call sign, Thomason.
The cleaver, yep.
He goes downstairs to inspect what this like crashing glass sound noise is, and he finds a brand new bust on the floor, just smashed to pieces. And he looks around, and he is just heartbroken. All his art is shredded, every single piece, even his brand new. What was the peel? Is that what you call it?
It focuses back on the peel. He loved that. He was infatuated with it. It's destroyed along with everything else that he put. He put all of his money into these artworks because he believed, I guess, that they would be worth something. He even had his workers build an underground tunnel in case something happened to the house, it caught fire or it was burgled, so they could escape through this tunnel. So he had his workers build a tunnel, but they didn't get to use it because he woke up and everything was destroyed. And what would you know? It flashes back to the butcher, Miss Thomasine, and she was the one that knocked over the bust of maybe Aristotle, stabbed the peel, stabbed all of these paintings. And he doesn't know that, so he blames the servants. I mean, if you don't believe in the supernatural and the only other people around you are your servants, of course you're going to blame them.
The poor bastard thinking what he thinks and obviously not thinking the supernatural. He locks these people, his servants, who he believes are the culprits behind the vandalism, in this bunker basement. It's the same basement that we saw Dennis O'Hare, Dr. Elias, hanging out in when he was trying to hide out from the house. And he basically chains them up in there, throws down like a horse apple or something, and says, "There's your rations, your thieves' rations." But
it puts the lotion on its skin.
Down there. There were like a dozen of them down there, and he just locked them in. It's pretty twisted.
They're fucked.
Like seriously twisted, but.
And he goes crazy. He throws a little floppy tantrum, and he pretty much tells his lover, Guinness, like, "Don't let me see you for the rest of the night." I guess maybe he suspects him as well, even though he helped him pretty much bury 12 servants. I don't know, he throws a tantrum, tells him to go back into the house, and then he himself retires to the house to, I don't know, get some rest. I mean, it's been a long day. Why not? And then we pretty much see him being over encumbered by colonials out of nowhere. I mean, you knew something was going to happen, but all of a sudden these colonials come up. They take his paisley bedspread, they put it over his head, they try to smother him, and then he cuts his way out somehow. He comes up from the middle of the comforter, and, "Oh, I'm okay." "Oh, no, he's not." And he's seized by the colonials and dragged out in front of the house out of nowhere.
And poor Evan Peters, you know already he's in hot water. We just had him for the first 10 minutes of the episode, and we're already worried that we're going to lose him. And of course, we see Thomason, her spiel about, this is her land. They're not the trespassers, Peters is. And out of nowhere, the two colonials that are holding him hold firm. And we see poor Evan get this big stake driven right through the center of his chest.
Which was pretty brutal and awesome, but poor Evan Peters, like, hello, Goodbye, Evan.
Come on, really? We lose him that quick? And then to make matters even worse, they freaking shove him into the fire and just torch his ass.
He'll come back. And then we see this lady again, which I wanted to add earlier, but this lady, what is her name? Doris Kearns Goodwin. Shout out to her because she is a real Harvard-educated presidential historian and biographer. She wrote many biographies for presidents, and I thought it was really cool that they brought her into the show. So, hi. Shout out to her. Pretty cool.
Well played on the part of Ryan Murphy. And
definitely, like, good casting.
Well, after the whole barbecue with poor Edward Mott, we go back to our historian, and she's basically kind of outlining this background origin story for us. And she's saying that Guinness, the gay lover of Edward Mott, he kind of he took off, and they never found evidence of a fire or somebody being torched, and they basically blamed him. And they never told anybody about the people that were locked up in the basement. And by the time they found them, they were nothing more but skeletons. But so
he never told him anything. So he got blamed for the murder, and he got charged for the murder, and that's really sad. But when you can't present bodies, if only he would said something about the bodies in the cellar, but he didn't. But then we open back up. This is like scene 2 of what's going on. We open with Matt and Shelby pretty much calling 911, like, hey, help us, there's a mob outside. And they don't come to help. They don't care. And they're scared. They're inside their house. They're saying, what are we going to do right now? There's a mob outside. And of course it's the butcher and her son Ambrose and their kin saying, they're trying to burn them out. I mean, they're there with pitchforks and torches. And what do you do at that point?
They have absolutely no idea what to do at this point. They've been scared in and out of the house. They've run into the woods and been recaptured again. They finally got Flora back, but now they realize they're surrounded. And there's really not much that they can do. So Matt's like, okay, here, take the keys, take Flora. I'm going to make a break for it and draw them away. And
run to the truck, which they should have done like way before this. They should have gotten the hell out of there way, way before this. And that is my number one irk with this whole thing. I'm not complaining, but I would have been long gone wherever way before then. But now they decide, hey, let's go to the truck.
I'm not quite sure why they stayed there to begin with. I mean, there was so much going on, and yet still remained in the house. I'm not quite sure if that was like the most stubborn buyer's remorse thing going on there. I can't be sure.
Shelby did think about that at first because they don't really have as much money because they sank $40,000 into the house, and then Shelby said, "Hey, we're going to fight this and go all gung ho into it." And she didn't really know what they were messing with. I mean, 100-year-old ghost that kidnapped their niece, and they didn't even know about the week with the blood moon, where a certain time in the month of October they can actually materialize and cause harm or kill whoever they want to. And they didn't know about that. They maybe thought, oh, it's just ghosts. So they're in the house. And this was my favorite part of the episode. Out of nowhere, the little girl Chan, all grudge, Ringu style, comes up, snatches Flora like a spider, and runs off with her. I thought that was, I did not see that coming. Also, maybe a little bit racist just because they attributed that style to Ringu. Maybe it was a tribute. I thought it was really awesome. I thought it was really well done, and it creeped me out. Did it creep you out?
It made her face look like it was kind of hovering. It wasn't really a solid. It was almost like her head was detached and kind of floating along with this weird upside-down crab walk thing she was doing. But, I mean, and then, of course, after she disappears, we start seeing all the other crazy ghosts showing up again. The 3 hunters that blew their heads off with their guns, and the piggy again. This piggy dude is like freaking everywhere. But I got to admit, though, I think it shoots the whole idea to shit that everybody was assuming that Evan Peters was the piggy man. But I'm glad they finally gave him.
I kind of thought he was piggy man, but
for a fraction of a second did too. But
I guess Piggy Man is no one.
We'll find out, I think, eventually. Maybe they'll take the head off of him and we'll see something. But so they're running down and they're trying to get away and they're locking themselves into the basement. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we see Evan Peters, Edward Mott show up and, says, "Hey, I can help you." And of course, Matt, thinking he's some kind of another crazy ghost that's going to attack him, lunges at him with a shovel or something. But he says, no, I can show you the way out of this place if you just let me show you. And he moves aside some of these old school art frames, and there's he actually shows him the underground tunnel that we were hearing about in the beginning when he was telling everybody we need an escape route for this precious art if anybody ever comes to steal it. So he shows them the way to this tunnel. But of course, he's like ghastly pale white, and he's still dressed up in his old 1700s French fop outfit with his hair and everything.
Well, of course, you have to live out your ghost days and whatever you die in.
This is one of my favorite parts of this whole episode, though.
Same. Was
the way that they used some kind of effect that when he moved and he turned around while he was carrying this torch through the walkway. Like a ghastly, almost like
ghostly with black eyes and black mouth.
Very cool stuff. I don't know how they did that, but that was pretty freaking clever. And if you keep watching after you notice this, you see that anytime the flame kind of passes over him just the right way, it does it again. So it's not just like that one instant. They actually keep going with it, which is awesome.
I wonder why the flame has an effect on it like that. I wonder if that's significant or just like a cool little extra.
Just the manipulation of light, I think. When the true light was about to pass over him and then it went back into shadow, that's where we kind of caught a glimpse of it. That in-between moment between light and darkness.
And if we may pause for just a second on this part, I really want to iterate on how Shelby really described the tunnel. I mean, you think about when you most of us have never walked through a tunnel where someone has dug out, a hole in their basement, and she describes,
like a miner's tunnel.
Like a miner's tunnel or an escape route, as it is in this situation. But yeah, exactly. They have to put up support beams and whatnot. But she described the walls as coming alive with insects. I'm thinking worms, I'm thinking beetles, and I just think about walking through something that is wriggling with life, and it's absolutely disgusting, especially if you have a thing for bugs or against bugs, and you really can't, if you find insects really, really gross, like Elvis does. I like bugs. But she described the walls as coming alive, and she actually described it as smelling like a grave. And I almost wonder if maybe she was getting phantom smells because so many people died on that property, not necessarily in the tunnel, but in and around the property. Many people have died there.
Well,
and
Thomason said they consecrate their blood to the soil.
Yeah, they absolutely do. They consecrate the blood. Every year they have to consecrate the soil with blood to ensure that the crops grow. But we'll get back to that later. But I just love Shelby's description of how the walls came alive, and then. I don't want to get too much ahead, but I want to share one of my favorite quotes from Evan Peters, from Edward Mott's, his whole existence and his whole portrayal. He said, "The living cling to life above all, but the trophy misprized is to die in peace." Now think about that quote.
Not only that, but he kind of bows out after he says it too and extinguishes the flame, which just totally added to the dramatic effect. Gotta admit, that was pretty cool.
He leads them out of the tunnel, and they're complaining about, well, where do we go? Where do we go? We don't know where we go. And he says, hey, you know what? You're alive, and you should be grateful, because a lot of people take for granted the fact that they're just alive. They're not living, but they're just alive. And I think maybe I caught a tad of jealousy about that, because while they're in the house, he called them his bane, because all he ever wanted was to be alone and to be in that house alone. And then everybody died in there, and he had plenty of company, and he hated that. So one more couple with a small child occupying his space, he wanted them out, and that's why he helped them. And he also reminded them, be thankful you're alive.
Yeah, he prizes his seclusion. That's the way what he said. That's the one thing he still clung to. Even though everything else that he cherished had turned to dust. But the one thing after all this discussion of life that we just suddenly realized is exactly where he led them to. That all led out to a certain place, and it just so happened to be littered with the sounds of pigs. And that's not a good sign, because obviously the sounds of pigs have indicated some ghost colony activity before, or that crazy pig farm where the inbred children were.
Pig farm.
Yeah.
And hillbillies and shrieks and screams.
Either or, it's still a bad thing, and unfortunately it is the latter. They find themselves right back at that weird pig farm where the crazy kids were in the barn, and that's when the bags get thrown over their heads, and that's, yeah. So we.
But you know who we do get to meet?
We do.
One of our favorite characters from. She's been in Murder House. She's been in Asylum. She was in Coven. She was in Coven. Yes, it was Balenciaga.
She was in Freak Show.
Frances Conroy. I love her so much. She comes back as Mama Polk, the Billy woman. She is the most ratchet character I have seen thus far on American Horror Story. We get introduced to her, but I love Frances Conroy, and she did a hell of a job as an inbred hillbilly, non-toothed mom.
Well, let's not forget about Dennis O'Hare either. We had Dr. Elias. I saw him. He actually ended up getting 3 arrows shot into his gut. And out of freaking nowhere, as they're getting dragged into this little woodshed for the Polk family, we see Dennis O'Hare on the freaking table. Dr. Elias is still alive after all of this. But unfortunately, he's even worse. I thought he was dead or a ghost, but he was somewhere in between. And now he's even in worse shape than when we last left him. He's still got the holes in where the arrows are. And now he's
missing an arm and a leg.
Yeah, seriously, this poor guy's gone through hell.
Turned into beef jerky.
But that's where we actually see old Mom Polk come out and offer some eats for her guests. And
in her frame of mind, I really think that she is. I mean, they're fucked up, but the way she puts it, she is offering hospitality to these people, like eating human flesh is normal. Like, here, have some of this. I made it for you. No, it's not normal. But I think maybe she's being nice.
Well, whatever form of nice it is to her, because as we actually get more into the scene, we realize she's not nice, not at all.
No, she's not.
As she's being declined her offer of this beef jerky that she's offering to Matt, Shelby, and Flora, goes to bite into herself and ends up spitting it out and saying that the meat's rotten. And she's pissed because she spent 4 hours or many hours curing this meat to make it into jerky. And that's when we realized that it was taken from Dr. Elias. It's his leg meat that they were doing that from. But
in our meat.
After Dr. Elias is deemed as dirty meat, Mama Polk actually tells her son, Mr. Bearded Craziness, to go ahead and get rid of him. And that's where he takes a big ball-peen hammer and literally smashes his face in, clean in.
Actually,
like, right
can we can we pause right here? Because I got something I wanted to say about this. And I had to write some notes just so I could remember this. After she said it's bad meat, which makes me think that, okay, he wasn't dead, but he was rotting. So maybe he had like gangrene or something. Gangrene, or either someone said the son with the dark hair with shotgun, he said Mama worked her magic to keep him alive. So maybe she gave him a tourniquet to keep him from bleeding out, but the limbs still kind of like got gross. So maybe he had gangrene. And then she tells him, you should have never bought that house, which is, oh, it's your fault that you're here, victim shaming, whatever. And
That's
then she goes on to say,
they did make mention of the auction. Yeah.
Right. One of my favorite quotes. They have to consecrate the soil every year to ensure that their crops grow. And she said, I quote, that cannabis grow tall in that Carolina soil, which I can say is true. Which I will say is true. I don't know about blood sacrifice for the cannabis, but whatever works. But in the end, they have a deal with the butcher where they do have to present a blood sacrifice, and that's why the Polks are so fucking hell bent on capturing Shelby, Matt, and Flora. And I don't know what they're gonna do with them. I feel really, really bad for them. I mean, they made barbecue at a poor Elias, but that's what I wanted to say. I wanted to say that quote because I thought it was a really nice little jab there. So
well, they also were saying that they have a deal with the butcher that as long as she stays out of their way and she lets them do their blood sacrifice and whatnot, that they can live in peace and harmony. So they've got kind of a don't say, don't tell kind of agreement worked out to where the colony can kill whoever they want to, and the Polks might even send a few of those kills their way. And that's where we kind of understand that these people are really quite twisted, because we know that if they're okay with just mass murder going on throughout the decades, the centuries at that they've obviously got to be pretty tweaked themselves. And we already know that
also they were talking about how they took their kids away. Guess whose kids it is? It's Mama Polks and the guy holding the shotgun. They're brother cousins.
Eek, gross. Real deliberate.
Gross. Did you? And supposedly I saw, like, I don't know if it was fan made or if it was from FX or American Horror Story, but I think the twins, the inbred little brother cousin twins, are going to come back next episode or next season.
We're going to talk about what next episode at the end of this episode, but let's get back to this. Let's see what exactly Mama Polk is. Some ideas of what she's going to do with these two. And they basically are telling them everything. And Shelby's like, why are you telling this? And Mama Polk's like, oh, it's not like you're going to tell anybody. And they're saying, of course, we're not going to tell anybody. She's right. You're right. The butcher wants you. We're going to freaking deliver your ass to her. And we see the other inbred rednecks kind of just looking on, doing their own thing. But I got to say that I think that the younger brothers are kind of doing things with Mama Polk at the same time, because we find out that those two kids that got taken were the same crazy bearded, one-track minded Polk son that smashed in Dr. Eliza's face. But I'm just saying, this is some really backwoods country deliverance kind of inbred redneck shit going on here.
Do you remember when we first saw the sons and they were back at that farm and they were suckling on the mama pig? Like, she was like so ready to give her breast milk, like had been ready to give up her breast milk for fucking days. And those 2 kids, those are the brother cousins. And that is that is where Shelby and Matt and Dr. Elias ended up, was the same shed. That's the same shed. It's true. I read it on Reddit.
So when we go to the next scene, obviously that's our cut scene. We go back to seeing Lee after she had gotten taken by the cops, and she's being held for questioning because Shelby had called in saying that Lee had something to do with her husband's death. And we saw Mason after he went crispy in full-on like Pinnacle style fashion. He was he'd seen better days. But Lee's being held under suspicion, and they still haven't charged her yet. So hers, being the smart ass that she is, knows that cops can't hold her much longer than 48 hours under suspicion unless they're going to charge her with something. So she's basically pissed off because the entire time she's been locked up, she's been wanting to try and find her daughter, Flora. And there has been absolutely no movement towards trying to find Flora, according to Lee, while she's been in here. With the cops,
she hasn't had any access to the outside world. She doesn't know how Flora is.
Right. But the cool thing is, after that 48 hours is finally up, she steps out and opens up her, her belongings out of the cop envelope, and she checks her phone and sees that there's like 10 text messages from Matt saying something about how, we got Flora. She's alive. But then we cut back to this pickup truck hauling Shelby, Matt, and Flora through the woods, and we see Mr. Brother, son, whatever guy, the dude with the beard that's smashing a lot of face, holding the double barrel on these guys, while Mr. Crazy Schlacktooth guy, he's actually driving, and Matt's just basically saying, "Give me a moment," and he lunges at the guy after he hits a speed bump, and he looks at the other brother. The other brother. This is getting really confusing. Driving
the
truck.
Other brother cousin.
So,
what the
he's
fuck?
Wrestling with the shotgun. He's wrestling with that double barrel, and he ends up actually pointing it at the driver, the Mr. Crazy Slackjaw brother, and blows his freaking head clean off his shoulders. And
yes.
Shelby freaking takes advantage and kicks crazy Amish inbred brother dad thing off the truck. So
great move on behalf of other cousin out of the truck. Oh God, it's a messed up family, man.
So Matt, Shelby, and Flora, they take off, they try to run, and they try to hide, of course, because they know that once they get out of that truck and when they get delivered to the butcher, they're done, and that's it. So they go and they run and they hide, and of course, like all terrible things, when it comes to trying to hide from somebody terrible trying to kill you, there is something on you that will emit a noise, and lo and behold, there it is. The cell phone vibrates, and next thing we know, Amish brother, daddy, cousin, fucker, mommy thing guy has the.
I'm gonna say what everyone was thinking. Why didn't they take the truck and take the shotgun from brother cousin? Why did they? If you had a truck, you could run down everybody. No, let's go run off into the woods. Oh, that made me so mad. I was yelling at the TV today. Take the truck. Take the gun. Run over the guy, shoot the guy, whatever.
Well, Mama Polk ends up showing up with whatever relative kin. And that's how I'm going to refer to them now, I guess, just to kind of make it easier. And they see she's pissed as all hell because her son, Mr. Slackjaw guy, got his head blown off. And she's basically saying, if it wasn't for the butcher wanting you so bad, I would freaking smash your heads clean in right here on myself. So...
And actually, can we pause on that? Because I actually wrote something down that interested me. I know I'm doing that a lot. But I wrote something down. Mama Poke said to Matt, quote, "If she didn't want you so bad, I'd bash your head in right now." Is she talking about the Scavenge, which is Lady Gaga's character, or is she talking about the butcher? Because the Scavenge, which is Lady Gaga's character, really was infatuated with Matt.
Yeah, but you got to. The only person that Scavenge the only person that really directly talks to Scavenge is either Matt in his weird fantasy mode or Thomason herself. She doesn't really associate with anybody else. But I would think that.
But how do we know that? It hasn't really been talked upon. Do you think maybe she didn't butcher them because maybe Scavenge Gaga has something for Matt and told him, hey, because she's the all power in this whole thing, and the whole Roanoke Nightmare, the God, I cannot say that, Scavenge has the power. And I mean, she did say, if she didn't want you so bad, I would bash your skull in right now. Maybe she has dominion over the colonies too, the colonials.
I think Scavenge only really directly interacts with Thomason, the butcher, and then the butcher is the one who gives the orders to the Polk family, because obviously Scavenge really doesn't need to have any interaction with the Polk family. She really doesn't, because everything that she wants done gets done by Thomason. So I think that really what she's saying there is that she's saving them for Thomason, the butcher, not for Scavenge. But in all honesty, indirectly,
because of consecrating the blood for the land, for their crops.
Yep. Because Scavenge is the one that kind of tells Thomason, the butcher, what to do. So I guess indirectly, in a way, you are kind of right that it is for Scavenge.
Like it's just orders being passed down.
Exactly.
Because she didn't say that to Shelby. She didn't say that to Flora. She said that directly to Matt. So that makes me think that it has something to do with the Scavenge. I will always trip on that word, Scavenge.
Well, here's the funny thing, too, when you bring up Gaga a lot, too. We did not see her in this episode. That's what's really, really crazy. Even as we get towards the end and we see more, Thomason, the butcher, and Ambrose, her son, in the colony, we do not see Scavenge in this episode, which is kind of strange. Her absenteeism makes, you kind of wonder what's going on.
I didn't notice that, but yeah, you're right.
But as we get going and we get back to Mama Polk, as she's like saying, you're not going anywhere, she pulls out a big sledgehammer. And Matt's like, I'm not going anywhere, but she ends up actually using the hammer on Shelby's ankle. And we look down and we see her, and we are talking like serious damage. You can like see the bone. Mama Polk really mangled her foot with that hammer. But and Shelby's like, I really don't even remember what the hell happened past that point. I really don't really remember. But
yeah,
Matt's
probably
the one,
passed out from shock
or pain.
Well, yeah.
But they basically are coming to terms with the fact that they're pretty much done. They're roped up. They're on the truck again. They're basically cruising towards their death because they know that they're heading straight towards the butcher. Mama Polk said so. And Matt's basically giving us the narrative at this point because Shelby can't remember what the hell happened after she got the beating of her freaking ankle's life. And
which is really sad and a really sweet moment. It really shows how much Matt loves Shelby so much. I mean, he's laying there, he's trying to comfort her. He's kissing her on the forehead and on the cheeks, on the lips, just trying to say, actually, he didn't say anything. He's just holding her. And that was actually a really sad moment. And if I, didn't know they were going to make it through that because of the reality TV show kind of thing, that they have going on, I would have been, very fearful for them.
Well, we're going to have some really serious fearfulness. We got some serious fearfulness going on now because the truck is finally heading toward its destination. And we see the colony in front of the house with the fires ablazing as usual. And it's not looking pretty. We get our cutscene, and then, of course, we're going to come back, and we know that it's probably going to be curtains for Matt and Shelby and Flora.
Yeah. Except we know it's not because of the format that it's in with the reality TV series, which almost, I mean, the Roanoke Nightmare story is good. I really like the historical aspect, but the fact that you know that they're going to live takes away from the suspense. And everybody has said that. And it's okay, because I feel like they're going to go in a different direction, and they better fucking surprise us.
Well, speaking of a different direction, we actually see Mama Polk delivering Matt Shelby and Flora to the butcher, and she actually walks up to her and almost has like a civil conversation with her, talking about how she lost a son doing her bidding, and the butcher is just like, there's nothing worse than losing a child. And we see a quick glimpse over at Ambrose, and we're kind of like thinking to ourselves, well, what the hell would we even think about looking at him for? She's the one who killed him. And we're seeing Piggy Man and all the other crazy victims scattered around the fire. And we're looking at Flora being the first victim, which is crazy. We can't really imagine why exactly the kid is the one that the butcher would have the biggest beef with. And
out of spite, because Priscilla specifically asked that Flora would go last. And now Thomason is saying that Flora is going to go first. She's doing that out of spite, because Matt and Shelby have given her such a hard time. She's doing it purely out of spite.
what's terrible, we see the same kind of guy that was sharpening a stake at Edward Mott's, burning and staking, I guess you could say, sharpening up another stake right as they take Flora away. And it's right at this moment that things are getting very tense, that we see Lee come back on the scene with the cop that had been giving her a lot of shit and questioning everything she's been saying. And as she gets out of the car, the cop actually looks over and sees the colony and the torches and everything, and he ends up hauling ass out of there like a freaking coward. But Lee, she hears her daughter
They knew
scream.
all along. The cops knew what was going on. The cops knew what's going on, and he decided to leave Lee there because I guess they just want to plead the fifth and not have anything to do with what goes on that land. And that's really sad. But having dealt with it for years, thinking from the cops' point of view, not that I'm sympathizing with them, but just playing devil's advocate, is there really anything you can do against power like that? Then walk away?
I don't know, but
what would you do if you were a cop?
Well, I would probably at least get out and assess the situation instead of just running off. I mean, that was like seriously the coward's way out. I mean,
but what if you had seen it happen for?
Well, but he was aware of the situation. Years. He was aware of the situation with the property and the fact that the cops had been coming there a lot already, and they had not found anything that was really concrete. They were basically blaming Shelby for being a drunk, and the vandalism inside the house, and then of course the effigy with the pig's head on the stake at the top,
and Lee being crazy and being like a kidnapper ex-cop. But still, he ran away from the scene. He knew what was going on. He knew it.
Well, anyways, the real big twist that we break to here after Lee does show up on the scene, when the butcher is about to sacrifice Flora, we see Wes Bentley's character, Ambrose. He steps up and basically has had enough. He clubs the Thomason, his mother, the butcher, like over the head with a log, and is just pissed. And he says that no more innocent blood will be shed while I am here, while I'm watching this. And he starts dragging the butcher towards the fire that was originally meant for Thomason and the Millers, and basically drags them both in and just sacrifices his own spirit and Thomason's, and just they start burning.
I think maybe whenever she empathized with Mama Polk, saying that I'm sorry that you lost a child tonight, where Thomason butchered her child. She butchered Ambrose. I think that set him off. I think that finally clicked in his head, you know what? She is an evil lady, and she is just doing this for her own vengeance. And I think that's why he finally snapped and dragged her into the fire.
Well, everybody that was there that was a victim of hers, including Edward Mott, he suddenly appears because thinking that the butcher is finally gone, and he cuts the ropes that were holding back Shelby and Matt, and that's when we see the Piggy Man guy pick up a blade and go running straight towards Flora, and we're thinking that poor child is finally going to meet her end, and out of nowhere, Lee freaking slams Mr. Piggy Man with the car. She freaking straight runs right into him and saves the day. But they end up grabbing Flora, and just as they're about to speed off, the butcher rises up out of the fire in the flames, and as she is on fire, goes hauling ass towards the car. That's some, like, 2000 Terminator kind of shit right there.
It was a miracle that she actually got out in time to save them. I mean, they could only hold her for 48 hours, said, but the timing was really convenient, and she was there, and she saved them, which was nice.
Well, of course. Mommy has to show up and save her daughter, at that exact moment.
This whole thing has been to save Flora. I mean, at the beginning, if it weren't for Flora, they could have just left. But this whole thing has been to save the small child.
Yeah, seriously. And now that they're finally gone, they basically have like next to nothing because they threw all their savings and money into the house. And
goodbye, $40,000. $40,000. Have you ever had $40,000? I haven't.
No, I have that in music. But they end up staying at this real ratty hotel. But you know what? Who gives a shit? It's not a freaking haunted house where they have to worry about a freaking 300-year-old ghost colony showing up on their freaking doorstep. Well, 200-year-old ghost colony, and trying to burn them alive with stakes through their guts.
And they have pizza. They have pizza and they have TV, which Flora is flipping through, which brings them back to modern day reality. It's almost like escaping from a mad fairy tale. But I mean, they go to sleep and they're all comfortable. And then Shelby, you don't know it, but she walks to the bathroom and there's smoke coming out. Like, what the hell? There's smoke coming out of the bathroom. And she reaches for the door and she opens it up. Oh, there's Thomason with a cleaver right in her skull, right there. Then she wakes up. She says she has never, ever gotten over the fact through the whole story. She has never gotten over the cleaver to the head. You can't get over that.
That's creepy shit, man. And she's never, ever gotten over that dream. She says she still has it continuously. But, I mean, as far as the gore and violence goes, this episode kind of pales in comparison to episode 4 when we saw, poor Cricket getting his dust torn out and the colony getting poisoned and then hacked up by Thomason. But we happy that we finally got satisfied with the fact that Evan Peters finally showed up. We were wondering.
You were waiting for that so hard.
Evan is one of our original characters, and he's one of the greats that really the story what it is. It's just like Jessica Lange. But it's like you were saying before. Who's Mama Polk? What's her name again?
Frances Conroy.
She has been with us so long. And I think the only season we have not seen her in was Hotel. I think she was the only absentee in the ballot besides Thaisa Farmiga, who is violent.
Who is rumored to come back this season. Just a rumor, but she might come back this season at the end.
Let's talk about the rumors for a second, actually, because after this episode, there are rumors flying like freaking crazy across the net right now. And one of the most popular is that, Matt and Shelby, they're kind of putting on a charade here, that they are a lot more guilty and they're a lot more evil than what people are really giving them credit for. And on top of that, we got this really, really great teaser for the next episode with Cheyenne Jackson, who was, I believe he was the owner of the hotel in the last season of American Horror Story. Wes Bentley, was that his name? The guy who was the hotel owner?
No,
Wes Bentley.
Wes Bentley is the Two-Face guy from Freak Show.
Oh, no. Yeah, you're right. He's the actual actor. Cheyenne Jackson plays. He was the guy who was the hotel owner in American Horror Story Hotel.
And the teaser, after the episode, you have, hey, on the next episode of whatever, it's Cheyenne Jackson, who was the hotel owner, Will, from Hotel. He has the camera pointed at his face, and he's walking backwards into what appears to be a TV studio. Some people think it's an insane asylum. We'll see what it is when it airs. But he's saying, hey, you guys, we're about to film. Just keep filming. Even if I tell you to stop filming, keep filming anyway. A lot of people have said that looks like an insane asylum.
I don't know. It looked a little too appropriate to be a insane asylum. If you look closely at the trailer, there's like this exotic lighting in this kind of foyer waiting room area, and the guy who's sitting in a chair right there, the camera glimpses on him, and he's wearing a suit. So in all honesty, I think it might be a television studio. I think it's these guys coming in to rein in on what is currently happening as far as the storytelling narration with My Roanoke Nightmare. I think these guys are going to come in on their own vibe because, like we were saying before, the rumors are flying that Matt and Shelby are a lot more evil than we take them for. So I think that these guys are going to come in with a more truthful note that we don't know about because we've only been subjected to one side of the story with Matt and Shelby. So I think these guys are going to come in and give us a whole new perspective on what the hell is happening with these guys, and especially what happens with the Roanoke County house. That's what I think is going to happen.
What I think is going to happen, we start off next episode with Cheyenne, and he is taking us on a not a tour, but through the set. And it could either be a TV studio, and I have heard rumors that the episodes 6 through 9 are kind of an ode to season 2 Asylum.
I would hope so.
So it's either a TV studio that he is giving us a tour of, or it might be an insane asylum. At this point, we don't know, but it's fun to speculate, isn't it? So what if it's insane? What if it's an insane asylum? What if Matt and Shelby went completely insane after whatever happened with them during Roanoke?
That's a good theory.
What if they're completely sane and everything actually happened as they said, but they were taken as being insane? And they're trying to document it and turn it into a TV reality show, which we know that, TV companies would absolutely capitalize on. What do you think? Do you think that this could be a documentary of a couple of insane people? Maybe three people?
What I think is the most insane about this whole freaking ordeal is the fact that we hit our halfway point now with episode 5. And even though we've been robbed of 3 extra episodes, because we all know that typically American Horror Story goes for 13 episodes. 13, not 10. Okay? And you know what's crazy? After you watch this episode, it seems like they cap everything off and they've kind of finished it. Like, okay, we've escaped, everything's done, we're alive. And that's really where they kind of leave you at the end of this episode. And that's what I think is strange, because we hit the halfway point and they've kind of wrapped up the whole story already, which means we have to be breaking into something really fucking interesting next episode. I'm thinking that they're going to go on a crazy plot twist. And we've also heard about tweets from Ryan Murphy saying that the next episode 6, is going to be the big turning point of this season. So everybody's been very, very critical, including myself, especially for the lack of Evan Peters, is going to really see something crazy, crazy plot twist style in episode 6. So that's what I'm holding out for. I'm not going to really judge until I finally see this episode that everybody's raving about and saying that this is where we're going to really make Roanoke interesting. And
there's a theory out there that says that all of the characters right now, like real and the characters that are playing the real people, like Matt and Shelby, and the people that are playing Matt and Shelby will eventually go back to the Roanoke house. I don't know where that came from, but they're going to end up there and they're all going to be overtaken by ghosts and stuff. Well, one thing we do know is that episode 6 is not deemed My Roanoke Nightmare. It's just called Roanoke. I don't know if they shortened it on purpose or if they're actually changing the story so much that they're going to change the theme of the show. Is that why they kept the show this season's theme so secretive, because it's more than one theme?
And we also have to remember that you don't necessarily have to think that a character is gone. Well, maybe a character is gone, but an actor is not. When we watched Hotel, we actually saw Finn Whitrock, who was the guy who played Dandy Mott in Freak Show,
come back as 2 characters in Hotel. He came back
as another character, exactly. He was.
I love that. It was such a mind fuck.
He was a model at first, and we saw him as being this really arrogant, really pissy kind of model guy. And then out of nowhere, he also came back as another character who played Gaga's origin story, an actor from the early film eras. And it made us think, okay, cool. So if we're going to kill one character off with one actor, we can have them come back as another character if we want to introduce them later on, which was kind of a strange twist for American Horror Story because we haven't seen them do that before.
In all honesty, they had better bring back Evan Peters, because everybody loves Evan Peters. If they're just going to show him for, half an hour in one episode and then not having the rest of the season, I could see the whole country rioting.
The only
fires and Molotov cocktails everywhere. Just bring back Evan Peters, because people love that guy.
Well,
and Taissa Farmiga, if they show her in this season, that will forgive the whole first part. Hey, this was just a story we're going to show you, and now we're going to show you everything behind the scenes, and the fact that the actors weren't actors. No. That the real people weren't actors, that everybody is actors. Does that make sense? Like, okay, the people that are supposed to be real, Shelby and Matt, what if they're actors too?
Well,
what if
like
it's
I said,
all done?
The speculation behind this whole thing is that they have a more sinister, agenda at hand with them doing this whole reality TV thing.
Yeah, but we read that once on a forum on YouTube where one guy said that. So we don't know how accurate that is.
It's a pretty popular fan theory. It's popular.
I've only seen that once. That could just be the ramblings of a madman.
It could be. But they said the exact same thing in Interview with a Vampire, again, to go back on that, when it comes to Bram Stoker's Dracula. But let's not get too crazy on the theories right now. There's still a lot of American Horror Story yet to go. We have had a little bit longer of a program than usual tonight, but I think it's because there's been a lot more given to us and a lot of theories that need to fly, especially for the fact that, like I said, it seems like they've tried to wrap up this entire season in these 5 episodes. But let's hope and pray that there is this killer, sinister twist that Ryan Murphy has been promising us here that's going to happen next Wednesday for episode 6 of Roanoke. And you better believe we will be ripping it apart and talking a crazy mess about it the following night, Thursday, 9 o'clock, for the next episode of The Creep on American Horror Story, courtesy of Monkey Caviar. As always, I am your sinister host, the Elvis Man, with my lovely guest, Miss Melody Patton.
I'm not a guest. I live here.
Well, yeah. When we broadcast, we are broadcasting from our home. So, yeah, this is my lovely woman who lives here with me as my guest on the show.
I'm not a guest on the show. I'm part of the show.
Anyways, horror story fans, stay cool, and we will definitely be seeing you next week to pick apart episode 6, which we are, again, hoping is going to be some groundbreaking shit.
It better be some groundbreaking shit, or else.